All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. All right, Tommy DiCarlo, great album, Dancing in the Moonlight, great band. Go see Tommy DiCarlo. One of my favorite albums of this year, although it technically came out late last year. It came out with very little fanfare from the record label, which again is Frontiers. They do a good job, though. They sign a lot of different artists, and they're committed to getting some of this stuff out there still. So kudos to them, and credit to the amazing Tommy DiCarlo, who has really harnessed and tapped into that sound from the 70s and 80s that we all grew up listening to. Some of us were listening to D. Snider back in the 80s. I have been critical of D. Snider on occasion here for his takes, especially during the Thingdemic. And recently he's said some stuff that I think, I don't know, it just makes half of the country cringe. And you know, it's a great song. We're not going to take it, right? So that's the way I look at pretty much everything right now. I'm just not going to take it anymore. And Paul Stanley yesterday decided that he was going to lose his testicles in the parking lot because he decided that the statement he had made about what they're doing to kids these days and how kids are basically being used as props in the culture war, and kids are being told these things that I don't think are true. And that's my opinion. Now, again, why wasn't this a thing like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Why did we all of a sudden just discover that this is how humanity is supposed to be organized? Like for thousands of years. And the animals haven't figured this out either, by the way. The animals are still doing what the animals do for the most part. Yeah, I know there are a few oddities out there. People will point that out to me. But for the most part, you know, animals function in a certain way, and humans used to. See, we're so enlightened, we've become really ridiculous. And I think this is child abuse. That's the way I look at it. Why isn't this child abuse? Why isn't this some form of child abuse? Anyway, D. Snider liked a tweet where Paul Stanley told the truth. And of course, Paul Stanley yesterday said, well, wait a minute. No. I said it the wrong way. It's the typical, this happens all the time when people make bold statements and then they get the backlash. So Snider was supposed to perform at this SF Pride thing next month. Are you really looking forward to the month of June? Oh, I can't wait for June this year. June, you know, I used to love June. Not a fan of June anymore. June Lockhart maybe, but not the month of June. Man, what happened to June? Okay, he lost the gig. This is what it says here. And this is a guy who was very pro SF Pride. See, and I've made this observation. It's a different animal than it is with all of this other stuff where you're going to just try to change who you are, literally change yourself because you're told you're not born in the right body. And, you know, some 13-year-old is going to say, well, I need to get this fixed. Imagine being told that, hey, you know, obviously there's something wrong with you. Obviously, there was a mistake made. And if you believe in God, and I do, I don't think God makes mistakes. I don't. I think we make mistakes after God gives us everything that we get. And we make mistakes. We corrupt it. Go back to the book of Genesis. And there was paradise, and then there's corruption. And that corruption is so out of control and so depressing. It just, yeah, I'm older and I don't see this any other way. I have compassion. I have a lot of compassion. And I think Paul Stanley said that in his backpedaling kind of way. And he even said something like, I really don't understand what would possess somebody to go to that extreme. See, that's where I think people are just scratching their heads going, okay, if you want to live a lifestyle, if you have a lifestyle choice, you have the freedom to do that. And I think you should have all the information before you make that choice. And if you're a minor, and this goes back to the thingdemic too, people who don't have informed consent, they don't have all the information, but yet they're being told every single day, this is what they need to do. And if they don't do it, you're not going to be part of the flock. You're not going to be part of the herd, and everybody's doing it. And wow, I mean, this goes back to a principle that your parents taught you when you were a kid. If everyone is doing, illegal things, does that mean you get to do it too? No, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to just follow the crowd. So anyway, Dee Snider was supposed to perform We're Not Gonna Take It. And that was supposed to be the unofficial song of the SF Pride Parade and celebration, with Dee Snider performing. But after he retweeted Stanley's post, adding that it was well said, SF Pride changed course. Now, this is what's called cancellation, all right? This is the current culture. And maybe Dee Snider had a moment of clarity there. The message, this is what they say. The message perpetuated by that tweet casts doubt on young people's ability to self-identify their gender. That's what they said. And they go on to say that basically this kind of tweet, which he didn't tweet, he just retweeted and said, well said, he says they say this leads to violence and hate and some kind of phobia proliferating and becoming more and more enshrined in law throughout the country. Okay, let me address that briefly. And again, I don't want to just be the culture warrior, but to me, you look at what is being said, and there are a number of people that say, I don't know if, hurting children physically and telling them only a portion of a story and yelling it and screaming it loudly is giving them informed consent on things. And I don't know. We don't let kids do a lot of things. We don't let them drive cars until a certain age. We don't let them drink alcohol. We don't even let them get tattoos. But yet, we're going to perform some kind of a surgery on them. And their parents are going to sign off on it. I just don't understand. Can someone help me understand why this is okay? And the medical community, who used to take this oath called the Hippocratic Oath, and that was basically do no harm. And, they come back with surveys and statistics on, the kids are so much happier after they do this. 78% or something like that. Because I saw some cut and paste journalism. That 78%. Really? Is that a long-term study? Or is it like, say, within a year or 2 years after? Is it a long-term study? I'd love to see some, because there isn't any long-term data. Probably not a lot of long-term data, because this basically is something that is happening all of a sudden and doesn't have a long history where you can study it all out. But these people, they just put this stuff out there like, if you let these people do this, if you let the kids and the parents consent to it, these kids are going to be so much happier. Yeah, okay. Maybe in the short term. What about health impacts? There will be no change to their health over a number of years. A lot of times this also includes hormones and puberty blockers. And this is going to be something I believe that they're going to have to do for the rest of their life. So they've become, number one, they become kind of wards of the state. They're captured by big pharmaceutical companies who are very interested in this, because this is going to be lifelong medications if you want to call them that. And so this is the other side of the story, and nobody is talking about it. Everybody's just saying, yeah, let the kids do what they want. And Dee Snider, who, again, has supported this stuff, and I'm actually going to defend him here. He's been a vocal supporter of this community for a very long time. And his enthusiasm, too, for this, it doesn't register that much with me, but he's been consistent there. And I think he's looking at the situation like a lot of people are, and we're saying, oh, wait a minute. You're an adult. You can do what you want to do. That's the libertarian point of view. You're a child. You've gone too far. This is off limits. But they're pushing this like every single day. You can't turn on some news broadcast and they're telling you about how this is the most important issue of our time. And it might be, in a way, because if this issue just continues to go forward the way it is, Western civilization is going to collapse. It's going to crumble under the weight of this disordered and almost insane approach to children. And I'm sorry, I have children. So, again, what do you know about it? I know about childhood innocence. I know about, how you can destroy a child's mind with the wrong information. It's some form of emotional terrorism that takes place. And you've got these adults who are going along with this, who are enabling this kind of stuff. So it's kind of ironic because Dee Snider, again, has been a long-term supporter of this. But the news media, Dee Snider messed up. He liked a tweet by Paul Stanley. And Paul Stanley even recanted, kind of. Paul Stanley's tweet didn't fully recant. I think he was really making an effort to try to understand both sides of it. But your knee-jerk reaction as a parent, as an adult, looking at this going, I don't know, this looks a lot like child abuse to me. That's what it looks like. They want you to basically agree with them. And you can't even just go your own way. They want compliance. They want you to think like they do. I mean, whatever happened to freedom of association and freedom not to participate and freedom to dissent and disagree? Now, look, Dee Snider will likely apologize. I mean, Paul Stanley apologized. I'm sure Dee Snider will. Or maybe Dee will get mad. Maybe some of that old Dee Snider will kick in from the 1980s on the censorship issue, even though now, I mean, these people, they start off as, free speech warriors, and then they become, well, what about saying distasteful things? Well, that's what do you think free speech is about? If everybody said flowery, happy things all the time, we wouldn't have to worry about censorship because everybody would be like, yeah, that statement, that doesn't make me upset. I mean, there are statements that I disagree with, but I believe those statements should go out there. These people who are perpetuating this abuse for kids, abusing kids, I really don't like what they're saying. But however, they should be allowed to say it. Otherwise, we wouldn't know how bad this is if they just kept it to themselves. They should just say it so then we can come along and say, no, this is why we disagree with it. That's the way our society has worked for quite a long time, but I think it's coming to an end. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a parallel society that organizes themselves outside of what these people are trying to do, the government, essentially, because this current government loves this stuff and has devoted all kinds of resources to this. And by the people who are there inside their administration, you can see that they're fully committed to this stuff. And I don't recognize the country that I grew up in. I mean, this is not Ronald Reagan's America. It's not even close. And I'm not saying he was the best president ever, but he was a pretty good president, and life was pretty good. And it goes back to all of my fondness for the 1980s, because it really was a great decade. Got off to a rough start, but I don't know, it was pretty good for most of it. Here's a guy who loves the 80s right here, Tommy DiCarlo, Dancing in the Moonlight. I think he understands how good music ought to be made, and he does so here on this album. You should check this out. Got myself an autographed copy. Yeah, Tommy and I, we're like this, you know. He comes down to visit me. No, we don't hang out. We only hung out one time, and it was fantastic. So he is a good man. He loves the music, and that's why I think he's great. Because if he was just out for the money, or he had the wrong motive, I would say, well, you know, he's just trying to copy the band that he was once in. But this is the music that inspired him. So go check out Tommy DiCarlo. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Lots of new subscribers. I appreciate that. I'm doing it on every video. Please subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. People are telling me that they're not getting notified when I put new content out there. Patreon had a great month last month as Patreon increased, as my other revenue decreased. Not exactly in proportion to that, but you guys did fantastic, and I appreciate that. Also, YouTube memberships. $2.99 a month. Get your little picture up there. I've seen a few pictures, and it's pretty cool. Anyway, folks, that's my video. This is a difficult topic. It's not going away, and it is affecting pretty much everything. Products that you buy, concerts that you go see, news media that's constantly buzzing in your ear each day telling you this is how you have to think. That's not America, people telling you how you have to think. And I'm into protecting children. That's what I'm into. It is the hill worth dying on. It just is. And there are a number of people that have said this to me, like, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know. If we go down this road and it's fully embraced by the government and the big corporations, which are in bed with the government, I don't know what to do other than create your own parallel economy and society that rejects this stuff. And, you know, at some point in the United States, I believe what Jason Whitlock said a few weeks ago, he said, we're going to need some kind of peaceful divorce. How are you going to function with people that believe this is okay for kids? I don't know how you do that. I mean, there are other countries that are mortified over what we're doing here in the United States, and they should be. Anyway, folks, I've gone way too long in this video. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you soon.